So the basic unit of time in music is the measure. So we've got to understand that most songs have 4 beats in a measure. So we're counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 4 beats are not the same. Beat 1 is called the downbeat. And it's essential that anytime you're playing music, you always know where the downbeat of every measure is. You always know where beat 1 of the measure is. Because otherwise, you're going to end up placing beat 1 on beat 2 or placing beat 1 on beat 3. Then the whole measure gets turned around. The whole timing's off. So you've got to always know where beat 1 of every measure is, the downbeat. And if you're singing a lyric, you've got to know which word in that lyric lands on the downbeat. Because it's not always the first word of the lyric, you know. Which word lands on the downbeat and target that lyric to that downbeat of that measure. Always be feeling that. Now the measures are put into phrases. The phrases are groups of 4s and groups of 8s. 2 groups of 4 usually build together into a group of 8. So you have small phrase of 4, small phrase of 4, big phrase of 8 in most cases. And you can tell when you're end of a phrase because usually the drummer will do a little extra couple hits leading into the next phrase, maybe hit a cymbal. The bass player might do a run, a walk up into the new phrase. Or the guitar player might do something different. There's always something happening at the end of a phrase that indicates you're at the end of a phrase and you're moving into the next phrase. And you can count, 4 measures and you can count 8 measures. But ultimately, you want to just feel it without counting. So as you develop your musicianship, you always got to know where the downbeat of every measure is, without a doubt. And you've always got to know when you've completed a 4-measure phrase and when you've completed an 8-measure phrase. That should just come natural. Now, when you're listening to the vocal line, a lot of things can happen. A lot of vocal lines do not come in at the beginning of a phrase. They anticipate and come in early. So one thing a vocal line will do, it will start a word a half beat before the phrase begins. So you have a downbeat of a measure, the vocal line won't start on the downbeat, it will start half a beat early, which is the and of 4 of the previous measure. So if you say you got an end of a 4-measure intro to a song, and then the song starts on the downbeat, the verse starts on the downbeat. Well, the verse, starts on the downbeat, but the vocal line of that verse may start a half beat early. It's called syncopation. They'll come in early. So to come in run on 1, they jump in earlier by half beats. That's very common. Happens throughout the measures, throughout the phrase, very often. Now, there's another concept too, is pickup notes. A lot of songs have pickup notes. Like, look at the song Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. Well, the phrase starts on May, the downbeat of the measure. Amazing Grace. 3 beats in a measure in this song. So the are pickup notes. So you've got to know that May's syllable is landing on the downbeat. And you've got to target it. You can't wait till the phrase starts, then go, Amazing Grace. And you can't go put the zing on the downbeat. You've got to know that the syllable may, is on the downbeat of the first measure of the phrase. So if I say there's 4 measures of intro, and then the verse starts, you have to think in your head, well, yeah, the verse starts, but I've got to come in halfway through that last 4th measure of the intro with my pickup note. That goes unsaid. I don't have to say that, right? You've got to take the pickup note out of the previous measure, out of the previous phrase. It's like a drum fill. The pickup note brings you into the next phrase, you see? So you have a lot of songs, like when I write lyrics to a new song, and I'm not sure how it goes yet, I will underline the word that lands on the downbeat of the measure. And that will show me where that downbeat is. And I have to match up that word with the downbeat of the measure. The words before that are pickup notes. And they're coming out of the previous phrase. So that's what you have to watch for. Now, if you're learning a song and you want to know where the phrasing is and where to come in with chords and such as this, and where to come in the lyrics, do not listen to the lyrics of the song to try to know when to come in. Like if you're learning the song, listening to it on YouTube, listen to the underlying rhythmic structure. Listen to the bass guitar and the drums. Because let's say you're singing karaoke. This happens to people a lot. They're singing karaoke, they get to know the song really good, they know when to come in, because they're listening to the guitar riff or the piano riff or something like that. something on top of the pile of music. And then they go play with a live band. Well, the live band is maybe a 3-4-piece band. In the studio, they had 100 tracks of music. And you're not going to hear in the live band all the things you heard in the studio version. So then you've got to, if you're listening, cueing off the guitar part, you may not hear that guitar part. You've got to stop cueing off those melody parts. You've got to cue off the underlying rhythmic structure, the bass and the drums, and just, no matter what's happening, know where the downbeat of every measure is, know the 4 beats in the measure, know the 4 measure phrase and the A measure phrase, and then know where your lyric starts on, before, or after the first beat of the phrase. Now, a lot of lyrics start after the first beat of the phrase. Like they'll come in, boom, and then you sing the lyric, And when I see that happen, when I'm typing my words, I'll put an underscore before the first word. That tells me that the downbeat is before the first word. And doing that helps me tremendously learning a new song. So I'll underline the word that is on the downbeat of the phrase, and if it comes in, after that, I'll underscore before the first word to indicate that it comes in late, which happens just as much as coming in early. So I hope that helps you with your phrasing and your singing and your playing.